Alright, so for this next podcast, we're going to focus more on solving inequalities. And along with solving it, we're going to start off with identifying solutions. Okay, and remember we did that with the equations. So if they're asking you if a number is a solution, you plug it in and just simplify it and see if it's an answer or not, right? So it's going to be the exact same way we did as the equations, but you just have to be more careful with how you read the end, okay? So for this first problem, it's asking, is negative 3 a solution to 2x plus 1 is greater than negative 3? So to figure out if this is an answer for this, we're going to plug it in for the x, right? Because they're basically saying x is negative 3. So remember to plug it in with your parentheses. So the left side, 2x plus 1 will be 2 parentheses negative 3 plus 1 is greater than negative 3. Okay? So now we're going to simplify the left side. If you type this in your calculator, 2 parentheses negative 3 plus 1, you're going to get negative 5. Bring down the greater than sign. The right side is already simplified, negative 3. Okay, now here's the thing. Remember on the equations, when you did this, we wanted the left side and the right side to be the same because it had an equal sign, right? Well, now it doesn't have an equal sign. So here you just got to read it more carefully. Different numbers doesn't necessarily mean it's wrong. What it comes down to is it true or false? So now it's saying negative 5 is greater than negative 3. If that's true, negative 3 is the answer. If that's false, it's not. Okay? Now you might have an idea in your head, but here's what I would do, especially with negative numbers. Negative numbers can be confusing. Take 3 seconds, make a quick number line. Okay, this way you can see it and prove it. So if I start drawing negative numbers, 0, negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, negative 5. And if I plot those points here, well, here's negative 3, here's negative 5. This says negative 5 is greater than negative 3. Is negative 5 greater than negative 3? No, it's actually less because it's to the left. That means this is not true. That means negative 3 is not a solution. Okay? If it's true, it's a solution. If it's not true, if it's false, it's not a solution. Okay, so you got to look at not just the numbers now, but the sign in the middle and see if it's true or not. Okay? Let's try this one. Now it's asking, is 11 a solution to this whole inequality? So we're going to have to plug in 11 for the x's. Use your parentheses carefully. Okay? So I'm going to do 11, big parentheses, and then my 11 minus 12 is less than 10. So if you type this in your calculator or do your PEMDAS, I do the parentheses first. So 11 minus 12 is negative 1. And then the outside times this, 11 times negative 1 is negative 11. Now before we go on, if you said you would have done the distributive property first, you could have done that. You're going to get big numbers. This is going to be easier. So this now says negative 11 is less than 10. So if I think about it, if I just draw another quick number line here, just to be sure, right? Why guess when you can be sure? 0's here, 10's going to be way up here, negative 11 is going to be like way down here, right? So let's look at what this is saying now. This is now saying negative 11 is less than 10. Well, 10's here, negative 11's here. Is this less than this? It's much less. This statement is true, so that means 11 is a solution. Okay, so it's just like equations, you just got to read that sign more carefully. Okay? Alright, so now let's get into solving inequalities. So like we've been saying, it's exactly like solving equations. Okay? With one little exception, it's exactly the same thing. Your goal is still to get the variable alone. Okay, so it's still your goal. You're going to get the variable alone. How do you do that? You get rid of the stuff around it by doing the opposites, right? Just like equations. Now here's the important part. Here's the one reason it's different when you're doing inequalities. Okay, when you multiply or divide, by a negative number, you flip the sign. Alright, so let's say that again. So the one exception that's different from equations, when you multiply or divide by a negative number, you flip the sign. Okay, so once again, that does not mean if there's a negative number anywhere in the problem. It's only if you multiply or divide by a negative to get the variable by itself. Okay? Alright, so let's just do a few of these. You'll see how it's exactly like equations, and then we'll tie back the graphing into it that we did at the beginning of this packet. Okay? Alright, so the first problem, x plus 5 is greater than 3. I want to get x by itself like always. I got to get rid of this 5. The opposite would be negative 5 or minus 5. Those are gone. Bring down your x, bring down your sign. 3 minus 5 is negative 2. Okay? And we didn't flip the sign because we did not multiply or divide. We subtracted. Okay? So now look at the sign. This sign would be open circle. It's going to be an open circle at negative 2. And so x is greater than negative 2. We're going to color greater than or to the right. Okay? Just like that. Literally just like equations. Alright, number 2. 2y minus 5 is less than 7. So now I got to get rid of the 2 and the negative 5, or minus 5. But remember, you got to do it in the right order. Got to get rid of this minus 5 first. Okay? By doing plus 5. On both sides. 5's are gone. We're left with 2y is less than 7 plus 5 is 12. Almost there. Now to get rid of the 2. 2 means 2y means 2 times y. Opposite of times is divide by 2. 2's are gone. Y is less than 6. Alright, so now for our graphing. Less than means open circle again. So what we're going to do now is go to 6 and put an open circle. Y is less than that. Pointing to the left, you're going to color to the left, all the way down to the line with the arrow. Okay? Alright, number 3. Now we have negative 2x plus 7 is greater than or equal to 4. I got to get rid of the negative 2 and the 7, but I got to get rid of the 7 first. Opposite of plus 7 is minus 7. Those are gone. Now you're left with negative 2x is greater than or equal to 4 minus 7 is negative 3. Now, to get rid of this negative 2, this means negative 2 times x, divide by still a negative 2. Remember, opposite operation, but you keep the number the same. That's gone. X is, now look, did you notice we divided by a negative? That's when we flip the sign. So instead of pointing to the right, it's going to point to the left. And a negative 3 divided by negative 2 would be positive 3 over 2. That's the simplified fraction. Or if you do 3 divided by 2 in your calculator, you get 1.5. So look at the sign. Less than or equal to means we're going to do a closed circle. The decimal might be easier to graph because 3 halves means 1.5. So I'm going to put my closed circle at 1.5 in the middle of 1 and 2. And then it's to the left, everything less than that. Okay? Alright, one last example here. So, now we got negative 2 minus 4x is greater than 10. Got to get rid of these two numbers, but you're going to get rid of the 2 first. Okay, plus 2. That gets rid of that. Now we're left with negative 4x is greater than 12. Now you got to get rid of the negative 4. This is being multiplied. Opposite would be to divide by that same negative 4. Boom, that's gone. X is coming down. Now we divide it by a negative. Got to flip that sign again. And then a positive 12 divided by negative 4, negative 3. Look at that sign. Not equal, so it's open. When we graph it, we're going to go to negative 3, put our open circle on negative 3. X is less than, arrow's pointing to the left. Okay? So I want you to go ahead and practice over the next few pages. There's simple ones like this and more complicated. Now remember what we did with equations. Distributive property first, if possible. Secondly, combine like terms on the same side only. Last, if you have variables on both sides, you got to move them all to one side before you start solving for it. All right, so there you have it. Work on it. Um, have them get checked. Good luck. Take your time.